Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's tutorial. Today I am going to show you how to craft the caddy, which I designed specifically to hold this 5 compartment plastic organizer. This is a Simply Tidy 5-section cart organizer. Many of you have the carts in your sewing spaces that this is designed for. I found this at the Michael's craft store. They are over in that cart and organization section. They're around $6. And I really loved the size of the compartments. This one here is super practical for the clips, the pin cushion, my product labels, snips, marker, and then all my cam press hardware, which I have organized in these circle screw type containers. And then of course my scissors, and I have a little pattern that I'm working with tucked right in on the side there. So by itself, the plastic organizer is not terribly sturdy because it's designed to go inside of a metal cart. So I designed this canvas organizer with handles so I could use this plastic insert on my sewing table. So I'm going to show you step by step how to craft one that fits this particular plastic organizer. If you have a different organizer that you would like to fit, you'll just simply alter the measurements and add in your seam allowance, okay? But you could still use the same construction process. To craft an organizer for the 5 compartment divider that I just showed you, you're going to need to use a canvas or home decor fabric. You're going to need 2 large rectangles that are 12.5 by 16.5. You're going to need 4 smaller rectangles that are 4.5 by 12.5, and those will be the short end sides. Then you're going to need 4 longer rectangles that are 4.5 by 16.5, and those will be the long sides. And then you're going to need 2 more rectangles for the handles, and those are 5 by 16.5. And then optional are 4 rivets to draw in the sides at the top. Those are completely optional. I personally like the look that the hardware offers this project, and then when you draw in the sides of the top there, the tray sits nice and snug down inside. So that's the purpose of the rivets. We're going to begin by positioning 2 of the shorter sides on top of one of those larger rectangles, and we're going to use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to stitch down the right and the left hand sides. I want you to leave 3/8 of an inch unstitched at each side. So just start 3/8 of an inch in and end 3/8 of an inch out so that you leave that seam allowance open on the ends. Then after you attach those short sides, then you're going to take your longer sides and position those along the top and the bottom, center them of course, and you're going to stitch using the same 3/8 of an inch seam allowance from seam to seam. And then you have your sides attached, and those also have the seam allowance at each end. So the next step is to align each of the short sides. And because you left the seam allowance at the ends, those will line up beautifully for you, and you can use the same 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to stitch from the top right to that seam. And you're going to do that for all 4 corners. And then after you stitch those shorter corners, you should have something that looks very much like a tray. Now you're going to replicate that exact process with your remaining 2 long sides and 2 short sides and your base. And now you should have 2 identical trays. The next step is to craft the handles, because we will be using a turning process of construction as opposed to the drop-in method for this. So we need to have the handles ready so we can sandwich them in between the 2 layers. So to craft a standard 4-ply handle, you're going to press your fabric in half long ways. Open that up and bring the edges inward to meet on that center press line, and then fold that over to press again. You'll do that for both straps. Then you're going to stitch down the open edge first, and then the opposite edge of each strap to fashion the straps. And then once you have your 2 straps, you can bring back over one of your trays. This can be the exterior if you are using 2 different fabrics. My material is all the same, so I'm covered there. So the next thing you want to do is measure in 4 inches from each edge, and you're going to position the handle 4 inches in, and you'll have to make sure that you're not twisting that, so you're kind of forming a U with it, and you're lining the handle edge up with the top edge of the tray. So it just lays down in there, and you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side with the remaining handle, just kind of forming a U with that handle, and the edge of the handle should be 4 inches from that corner. And so to be clear, this is the right side of that. The raw edges are on the outside and the handles are on the inside. Then you're going to bring over the remaining tray, which is still inside out, and you're going to turn that around so that you can put right sides facing with this. Okay, so you want to see the raw edges, and I like to start by aligning the corners, and I do open the seams so they lay nice and flat against each other. And then just get those corners secure first, and then come along the short edges and secure that with a clip in the center. You're just primarily aligning the top edges of those 2 trays. And then you can come along the longer edges there, and same thing, you're just aligning that top edge, and the handle is in between those two layers. So I'm putting a clip where each handle is. I also have a long straight pin through each handle so I can make sure that those don't escape the seam. Now the next step in the process is to start at one of the handles and backstitch well across that. You can use the same 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, then stitch all the way around to the other handle on the opposite side, backstitch across that, then break your thread. Then you're going to start with the second handle on the opposite side, just stitching across the handle and back stitching, coming around that to this opposite handle, back stitching. Okay, so you're stitching from handle to handle, and you're leaving the distance in between the handles open on both sides. Okay, so I've stitched from handle to handle, or 2 U's on each side. I have the spans between the handle open on both sides, so that roughly works out to be about 5 inches on each side if your handles were spaced correctly. So now I want to reach inside one of those holes and gently turn this project right side out. And just go nice and slow and pull a little bit through at each time. This is a wonderful time to preheat the iron if you haven't already done so, because we are definitely going to need to press. Okay, and once you get that turned right side out, it kind of reminds me of a suitcase. It is pretty large, and you still have your 2 holes on each side, and that is on purpose because that allows you 2 points of access on each side where you can then guide these corners to fit the lining inside of the exterior. And then once you've done a good job of that, then go ahead and head over to the iron and press these openings inward first, and they should align nicely with the top edge there, and then work your way all the way around that top seam to get it pressed well. And then you can take your iron in and press this inner compartment. And then after a nice press, you should have something that looks like this, which you can clearly tell is a tray or caddy there with handles. So now you want to put this up on the machine deck and stitch all the way around the perimeter. Take the opportunity to back stitch at the handles and reinforce those. And then after you have stitched all the way around the perimeter there, you have a really great utility tray slash caddy. It doesn't have a lot of body because we did not interface it, although the canvas that I am using does stand up on its own, and this still certainly would be a great way to corral items on a tabletop. but the plastic insert actually offers the functionality and the stability to this project. So I have a second one of those that I'm going to bring over, and in this one I have organized my junk journal supplies. We recently explored junk journaling over at Studio 365, which is my online creative community. I will link to that down in the notes if you'd like to learn more about that. And so I have all my fun twines and stickers and the junk journal that I made for June inside of here. And this is great because then when I want to sit down and work on the journal, I have everything in one spot. So you can see this clear organizer fit right in there, no problem, and it is sized perfectly for this. And then the handles allow me to pick this up and take this tray wherever I want to work on the journals, and then they kind of fall to the sides. So it fits very well like this. Now, optional is the ability to bring in these sides here and install a rivet. If you happen to have a cam press, it makes this job really easy. I don't recommend that you stitch these corners in. I doubt very seriously that it would hold up for very long. But if you would like to draw in your corners and install a rivet in each corner, that kind of pulls this edge up over this tray and it gives a really nice look. So I'm going to show you the difference between the two so you can decide for yourself. So this is a corner with a rivet and this is a corner without a rivet. I just think that the rivets again kind of hide that edge of the tray. Totally optional. It's half decorative and half functional. It gives it a little bit better fit, but maybe that's not a priority for you. I do own a cam snap, so for me they're very easy to install like that. If you struggle with the rivets or have never used rivets, this may not be a good time to attempt that, but I just wanted to show that to you as an option. So before we say goodbye, I just want to give you some finished measurements on this. It works out to be approximately 11.5 inches wide by 4 inches tall by 15.5 inches long. So it's a really generous sized caddy, perfect for all kinds of things. Please take a moment to comment below. Let me know if you'll be making one, what you think of the project, and what you're going to put in yours if you are going to be making one. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, please do click on the link down in the notes and check out Studio 365. We meet once or twice a week to work on a creative project, and we explore other things beyond sewing, like the junk journals, macrame, hand embroidery. We'd love to see you inside the community. So if you haven't yet had a chance to see what that's all about, please do visit the link down in the notes, and I'll give you more information about Studio 365. I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll see you in the next segment.